Hi, welcome to my review of Not a Cups, directed by Terrence Malick, a film that follows a wealthy Hollywood screenwriter of depressed isolation who goes on an endless search of self-fulfillment by attending extravagant social gatherings and clubs to meet and form short-term relationships with 6 different women. So as I've already stated, Knight of Cups is directed by Terrence Malick, who I have a very limited experience with. I've only seen 2 films of his, one of which of course being Knight of Cups and the other being Tree of Life, which came out in 2011. And although I can totally get why some people would hate or have hated Tree of Life, I think it's a pretty great film, and it's a film that I would love to revisit because I remember really enjoying the dreamlike spiritual nature of that film, and of course, the cinematography. It's done by Emmanuel Lubezki. But as for Knight of Cups, if you're somebody who watched Tree of Life and despised the fact that the film doesn't exactly follow the traditional scheme of a narrative, then you are going to despise this film because arguably, there's not even a narrative here. To be blunt, I'm pretty mixed on this film, and it's not because the film is light on story. There are many films that I love that are light on story, but they make up for it by being character-based. The problem with Knight of Cups is that it doesn't really have that either. Now, I have heard some people defend this film saying that the characters are essentially empty vessels, and you have to insert yourself into them in order to get some enjoyment out of this film. And I agree with that. However, I don't think that's a good excuse. I think in order for there to be proper characters, you have to put forth some proper effort. The movie never once gave me a reason to care about Christian Bale's character or any of the others. And a lot of the shots in the film are of just him literally walking around aimlessly in search of the next high, which would be the next girlfriend. And when he finds her, it's essentially a bunch of shots with them just doing stuff together, like frolicking around on the beach. Oh, and did I mention that this film is pretty light on dialogue? And when there is dialogue, it consists of a lot of whispering and audible dialogue, and some of it fades in and fades out. I'm not entirely confident, but I would say that the majority of the language that one could hear in this film is done through narration, and some of it is done through conversation. And I'm not actually saying that the lack of an abundance of dialogue is a problem. I'm just saying that when you have characters, again, I saw nothing of myself in, or I just saw nothing worthy of really exploring, it doesn't help. One of the commentaries that this film attempts to make is on the life of excess, the Hollywood lifestyle, the emptiness, the soullessness that is that world, and how it's nowhere near as glamorous as it seems on its surface. It comes across as an opening statement to an essay versus an actual essay. This film didn't open my eyes to something that I didn't already know, nor did it reinforce it, nor did it even entertain or captivate me in any sort of way. Now, what's important to note is that this film is inspired by literary works, one of which being the Hymn of the Pearl from the Acts of Thomas. And how this plays into the film is that Christian Bale, when he was a boy, was told the story by his father. And the story is of a prince who was sent to West Egypt to retrieve this pearl. However, along the way, he was seduced by Egyptians, drank from this cup, and it erased his memory, and he forgot who he was and what family he came from. The prince forgets all about the pearl, and it lies somewhere deep within the ocean. So in other words, Christian Bale is the prince, and Terrence Malick makes damn sure that you know that at the very beginning of the film. And there's no doubt in my mind that this film has a deeper meaning or a deeper subtext. The problem is that I don't care to look for it, essentially because this film didn't meet the first area in the hierarchy of needs. Despite all my criticisms, there is this one thing that I do sincerely deem to be astonishing, and this is something that you can pretty much expect from every Terrence Malick film, and that is gorgeous cinematography, and the cinematographer here is of course Emmanuel Lubezki. In terms of just pure cinematography, this is something that is close to being a visual masterpiece because you have some truly incredible eye-popping handheld tracking shots of land and cityscapes. If absolutely nothing else, which indeed it is, this film is eye candy. However, I do have a problem with the cinematography as well. Since the camera is constantly moving and it is handheld, there are certain sections in the film, only one in particular towards like midway, I actually began feeling a little nauseous. I really did, and that's actually never happened to me before. There are parts in the movie that honestly made me feel drunk, and not in a good way. And I must admit, as great as the cinematography looks, it's not as impressive as something like Lubezki's earlier work, such as Gravity or Birdman or, of course, The Revenant, because it's just great looking shots. Not really doing anything else. Overall, Knight of Cups kind of comes across as an incredibly well-shot student film. Student film meaning that it's kind of like the P word, pretentious. Now, I'm not somebody to throw that word around, and I'm not saying that that's the case here. I'm just saying that this film came across as pretty shallow. This film exists with the pure means of being artsy. That's it. And honestly, I do think having characters in the means of being vessels for the audience to insert themselves into, I think that's lazy. Give me something of substance. Give me something to chew on. Give me something of emotion. Don't give me something that's completely hollowed out. So with that said, I'm going to give Knight of Cups a very light 2.5 out of 5. In case you're wondering why I didn't give it a lower score, it's simply because of the cinematography. That's it. If you're somebody who appreciates great cinematography, then I would recommend this as a rent. And if you're somebody who has seen Knight of Cups, then do let me know your thoughts on it. Are you somebody who loves it? Are you somebody who hates it? Are you kind of in between, kind of like myself? Let me know. As always, I'm Colin Kirkland, and thank you so much for watching.